Welcome, everyone. Just so you know, this is a webinar format, so you can hear and see us, but we cannot hear or see you.
Oh, you know what? May I say one quick thing?
Absolutely.
For everyone listening. So where my office is, I have a grandfather clock that I'm so sorry. It will go off at 6:15 and 6:30. Sorry.
That's okay.
All right, I'm sorry about that. I just wanted to announce it.
No problem.
It was my parents. It was a wedding gift to my parents, so it's in the family still.
Very cool. All right.
Hello? Yes, it does.
Oh. All right, he's muted. All right, so we will get started, everyone. Hi all, so this is a webinar setting. Your videos and microphones are off. You can hear and see us, but we cannot hear and see you. But good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining our program, Meet the Mayoral Candidates. This is the second and final night of a two-part program to introduce the mayoral candidates vying for this critical role in the City of Albany and capital of New York. My name is Grace Giancola. I am the Assistant Director of Residence Life for the Troy campus, and I'm also the chair of the Sage Votes Committee. Sage Votes is a comprehensive, nonpartisan initiative whose mission is to promote student voter registration, voter participation, and voter awareness through on-campus and virtual activities. Our committee consists of students, faculty, and staff. We are so excited to jump into our program tonight, and now I'm happy to turn it over to your classmate and project co-lead, Brandon Indovina.
Thank you so much, Grace, and thank you to the whole Sage Votes Committee. So last week we met with Mayor Kathy Sheehan, and she shared with us her platform and campaign as well. Tonight we will meet with her challengers. We appreciate the candidates taking time from their campaigns to come and share their vision for Albany with us. Each candidate will talk to us for about 30 minutes with time for questions from you guys, the class, at the end. So just put those in the chat or the question and answer box. So let's just get right into it. The first candidate we will be meeting tonight is Greg Aidala. Greg is an award-winning entertainer who has performed from New York City to Los Angeles with such comedians as Jerry Seinfeld and Kathy Madigan. Greg has appeared on Lifetime Movie Network, MTV, PBS, Amazon Prime, and Sirius XM Radio. He's also been featured in numerous TV commercials. In 2005, he formed Radio Gauge Entertainment Company, and in 2006, he launched his award-winning touring production, the Brew Ha Ha Comedy Showcase. That is one of the longest continually run showcases in the United States. Greg is also a certified life and business coach. His venture into politics began in 2018 when a murder in Albany occurred in front of his family's 78-year-old business, Quail Auto Sales. In the days following the murder, Greg sent an email asking to speak with elected officials about how he would like to be an ally helping the city of Albany get through the rampant shootings. After waiting 3 months for a response that never came from City Hall, Greg set out to start filming docuseries videos showcasing what was happening in the neighborhoods of West Hill. Since then, his docuseries passion pieces have received both national and local attention, and he's been interviewed dozens of times by various outlets, including TV, radio, and print. Last summer, when violence was on the rise in Albany, Greg started documenting more of the shootings, and as a person in a positive position and with his positive nature, he also showed concerned residents and positive stories from within the West Hill community. He ultimately decided to run for mayor when in August of 2020, current Albany Mayor Sheehan was quoted in the Times-Union regarding the shootings by saying that many weren't intended targets, but rather in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong person who was being targeted for whatever reason. Greg found out that this was a dangerous statement against all humanity and that this was a pivotal moment to start building a campaign. We're so thrilled to meet you, Greg, and welcome.
Hey, thank you so much, Brandon, and everyone. It's nice to be here, and I'm sorry we can't be in person to see everyone and have that live energy. But I thank you for having me here, for inviting me here, for such a person that is not the typical person to be involved in politics. I'm definitely not a politician. I am a concerned citizen, and I very much care about my hometown, the city, all residents and businesses, and especially their safety. So I'm very interested to learn more about you folks and the questions that you may have, and I am ready. I am just going to give you the platform and to go ahead and ask away.
All righty. Like I said, we're so glad to have you here, and
Thank you.
we do have a few questions for you. So whenever you're ready, we can just jump right into them and hear the
Yeah,
response.
sure.
All right.
Yeah.
So as I've seen, you put a spotlight on the West Hill neighborhood and critical on how the current administration deals with crime in Albany.
Yeah.
How would you approach addressing policing and the crime in Albany?
Well, so great question. So what I've seen I'm 47 years old, right? So, and in my childhood and adult life, what I've seen in the West Hill has really just dissipated in the sense of accountability for elected officials to show up. And that was the whole genesis of my involvement 3 years ago, because when that first murder occurred, it was a drive-by, and one of the stray bullets missed my father's office by 7 feet, and it wound up hitting a daycare that's next door to us. And all I asked, I think it's reasonable for elected officials to show up, to show solidarity, to show trust, and no one did. So, and I don't yell. I come from that type of a family to seek the high road. So I penned that email and reached out to City Hall just to say, extend that olive branch and say, hey, I'm willing to help. What more can we do in this community other than take care of our property here? I don't mind mentoring children or adults that maybe need some mentoring. I have no problem doing that. So when I didn't get a response, like you said, I started making the docuseries videos, and that's what caught on. That caught their attention. And I wasn't saying anything mean. I've never said anything bad about anybody, a resident or elected official, except for maybe if I think that they could be doing better with our tax dollars. So when we finally got the meeting with the mayor in 2018, I had gone in with my father and the police chief at the time, and it was the four of us. And I said, well, here are some ideas that I have that perhaps could help, the neighborhood. And I had copies for everybody, and we went through each of them. And the mayor really liked them. And that excited me. And she said that she would have, her people reach out to me. They never did. So it really started to get into my head that I'm not sure of who really cares here. So finally, after that, people started coming up to me. And I'm not just saying there were elected officials, like my ward leader did come up, and we spoke. And then I spoke with residents, business owners, elected officials, and I thought it was still going to be on a good path. And that sort of dissipated. So, and then it led into last summer of what you explained. I continue those docuseries. Now, the reason I give that background on how I think policing could be better, it's not about them versus us. This is about community. And what I've seen in our section, okay, where I moved into the West Hill, is one of the toughest sections in Albany. But I believe in it because there's really great people here, and there's great businesses, and everyone wants to feel safe. Everyone wants to feel trusted. And we used to have beat cops, and that's when the neighborhood really felt safe. And that's going away because you may or may not know, the Albany Police Department, the law enforcement department in Albany, is short almost 100 police men and women. And that's tough for any city. And we're human, and people can get tired, and you can make bad decisions that way. And that's dangerous for everybody, right? So I commend them over the years because I've seen their patience and tolerance. Now, I can't be everywhere all the time, so I can't speak on behalf of all their actions. Although if actions are with ill intention, then absolutely those, they need to be disciplined. And I understand it. I'm a fan of that. Meeting in the middle, talk it out, and then move forward without. So there's clarity and there's communication, honest, open discourse within the residents and elected officials and law enforcement. I think better policing would definitely be more in the sort of Andy Griffith, Mayberry days. I really feel that when there's a presence, just gaining trust within the law enforcement and residents goes a long way. I've seen that happen because when I started my docuseries, when I would meet with residents, and those are on my website, they want people to come out. You know, I'm one of a few residents in my neighborhood that when something goes on, that when we talk with them, they seriously ask, they said, why are you the only one that comes out and talks to us? And I said, I mean, this is before I even got into the race. It's because we care. I mean, we have a block that we take care of, and there's instilled trust. And I really think that that's important to get that trust back within each neighborhood of Albany throughout. I think that is, we need also, it's tough. I've met with the chief of police, Hawkins, before one-on-one a couple of times. He's a very intelligent man. My one little bit that I don't really agree with, though, is he's from Michigan. And it's really hard to have a leader in that position, not know the streets of Albany, not know the temperament, not know the people, you know, to walk down the street, say, hey, Bill, hey, Jane, you know, I went to high school with them. And there's that, you know, innate trust. So I really think that a refocus on the police force and to really empower them, because they are demoralized. I mean, as much as people want to say about departments with the law enforcement, and I'm talking throughout the US, and hyper-focused here on Albany, there's a lot of demoralization that's happening within these departments. And that's really a sad state of affair when the mayor doesn't support the police department. It shows a two-sided picture that doesn't show consistency. It doesn't show trust. It doesn't show accountability. And I think those things can be changed if one can have some humility, admit, hey, this isn't working. Let's try another direction. And I think Albany is still a good city. I know it has its tough times. Believe me, I've seen it change in my lifetime. But I do believe in the people. I do believe in the businesses. And I think everyone wants greatness. And I think there's a possibility that we can turn this around and get it going straight again.
I love that answer. Great answer. And we have another question. And after doing some looking around on your website, actually, we see that you stated garbage promotes chaos and beauty promotes hope. So what is your plan on cleaning up Albany from condemned houses to dirty streets? And also, can you touch on the quote, garbage promotes chaos and beauty promotes hope a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Great question. So starting 3 years ago, and then more so even last summer. So what happens is, and this is one of the things, by the way, in 2018 in May, that I did bring to the table at the mayor's office, you know, with all these Red X buildings and the dilapidated buildings and residents, that said someone's accountable for them. And once you own property, it's the same thing that we own in Albany. And we're not wealthy people. You know, my grandfather built the business in 1943, but we know we have to take care of it. That's rule 101. You own property, you have to maintain it. So these properties aren't being maintained because either the owners are absentee that live here in the region, or a lot of them aren't even in the area. Some aren't even in the state. But we have to hold them accountable to show, obviously, trust, to reduce the blight or get them down. Because it juxtaposes with my statement, and garbage promotes chaos and beauty promotes hope. Because when you walk down a street, any street, okay, and it's clean, you feel safe. It's not me making it up. It's history, it's books, it's studies, it's the truth. I really believe that. And being a neat freak myself, I live by that. And our block, our property, we clean once, if not twice a day, okay? So when you have garbage, no one cares. So if it's just thrown on the street, well, the next mentality, the person walking down the street is, well, the heck with it. No one cares. Why should I? But if it's kept clean, it's like the broken window syndrome, right? Or, you know, that aspect. When it's kept clean, people tend to have more pride with that. So when you have garbage promotes chaos, because there's no order, there's no structure. It's just anything goes. But beauty does promote hope. I firmly believe in that. And it makes you feel better. And there's a sense of pride that goes with it. And I think that when you have those two things, you not only feel safer in the streets, but you also take that feeling of feeling good about oneself to your home life, because everyone feels better. You can go out on the street and you don't feel dragged down by blight, filth. And you can also take that to the workplace, which makes it very dangerous, because we're human. We can only process so much, and you can only take on so much. But I really feel that if you have that empowerment with beautification, you can have the uplifting of spirits, which will empower people, no matter what neighborhood they live in throughout Albany, to feel better about themselves, their family life, and eventually their community as a whole, the bigger community as a whole, because we're really all on the same team. Really, I mean, I'm a simpleton approach to this, and I really feel that it can be done with motivation, proper morale, encouragement, and being there for each other, because it just really seems to tend that people fight each other, and we're really all on the same team.
I completely agree. Thanks for all the thoughtful responses. And
Of course.
I have one more question, and then we
Sure.
can open it up for the class.
Sure.
So being a well-known entertainer, how do you think your past or background could help you be a better mayor?
To be a better mayor?
Yeah.
Is that what, oh, sorry, I couldn't hear that last. Well, I feel, look, I was in entertainment for 20 years. I put that on hold for this, because when the mayor made that statement about wrong place, wrong time, I really took offense to that. And I felt bad, because if my family's doing business on our property and God forbid they're hit by a stray bullet, are they at the wrong place at the wrong time? And if so, what's the right place? Or if someone is talking with their family on the street or their friends and they're hit, that's the wrong place. That was one of the most irresponsible responses that I've ever heard against humanity. It's really sad. Now, with my entertainment skills, I'm a big fan of the arts. And I have a lot of friends that are artists, in Albany that run certain, areas and museums, which is, it's great to see. And I think that one thing, well, my business skills definitely help. Owning a business and coming from a family business, those skills always help. I'm thankful for that, to manage, because truthfully, let me answer this way. Anyone, with everyone listening, I think truthfully, mayors have too much power in this country. I'll just say it. I really truthfully feel that way. I'm a great manager, and I think mayors should be managers. They should not, in my opinion, they should not be micromanaging every single department. That's what's happening in Albany, by the way. They micromanage everything, and it's not fair, because I didn't go to, I'm not a fireman. That's not my study. I'm not a policeman. That's not my study. I don't work for DGS. I know these people, but that's not my study. I want to lift them up so they can do their job. I'm a very good communicator. So with my background with communications, with entertainment, because it's also, I'm a keynote speaker. Oops, my sign came down. Look at that. I'm a keynote speaker. Look, quick fix. A keynote speaker. And also just coaching skills to really get people involved. And that's what's been great, because I really want to learn from people, and I've been listening over and over and over during this winter about people's concerns. So I think my communication skills are at its zenith, and I really want to be that great communicator to bring everyone together, because I'm willing to work with both sides. That's why I took my neutral route. I'm endorsed by the Independence Party, and I'm an independent. So I really want to work with everybody. And I think those communication skills will come in handy to bring people and the community together.
Thank you so much. Like I said earlier, thank you for all the responses. Looks like we do have some time for some questions from the class. So if anyone has any questions, just put them in the question or answer in the chat, and then Grace is going to be able to ask those questions.
Am I?
Awesome.
Oh, so, sorry.
That's okay. So I'll read them out loud. I don't know if you can see them, Greg. But thank you so much for those answers. Oh.
Okay. Oops, sorry, go ahead. No,
that's good. Okay. I didn't know where you went. So the first one we have is, what is your opinion on the actions that occurred at the Southside Albany precinct on Wednesday, April 14th?
Well, I'll tell you something. I'm just going to knock this down because I looked into I'm just going to take it off my screen. All right. So I was down there. I was actually down there earlier today too, to walk around when people have camped out. I have offered to speak with both sides to try to be that middle ground. the one thing I can say is this: I can understand how people are hurt. I get it. I see it in my neighborhood, and I'm not, and it's white, it's African American, it's Asian, it's Puerto Rican. I speak with everybody that feel this tension that we've all felt now for a year. What I would like to see is, I can understand the frustration. I can. What I definitely feel optimistic about is what's happening in Minnesota and other parts of the United States, where we should be thankful that it's not happening like that in Albany. And I think that's an important perspective to keep in mind, that it's okay to also celebrate when it's not happening. Now, obviously, something occurs, and you know, we need to. You should definitely vent your opinion. I think, though, as adults, and this is the same thing that started happening in this country in 1966, and I just feel bad that are we part of the cure or part of the disease? I'm not sure, but I can relate to both sides of what happened down there. I watched all the videos. I went down. But I think that we really need to have open civil discourse. And I would be happy to meet with anyone in a interview atmosphere. So to listen, learn, and also to amplify what they would like when I'm mayor. I'm 100% open to that. 100%. I've been accessible since it's the word I use every week in my videos. I'm accessible. So I was upset by it. I don't think really a lot of the graffiti and stuff of that nature was really needed. But I think that I really feel that we can get through this with better communication instead of trying to be violent on both sides. And I really mean that we should be thankful that Albany is one of those cities that we're not having those type of vicious attacks between law enforcement and residents. I think that's something that we should actually smile and be happy about, and possibly show the rest of the country as a good example moving forward, that, hey, Albany's setting a good example. We can have peaceful protests. We can have law enforcement and officials meet in the middle, but they have to be accountable. And this administration has to show up. They have to show up, because look, in the 3 years that I've been starting to get involved, they haven't been showing up. And it's definitely time for change on that front.
Thank you. I have one more question. It looks like we have time for this last one.
Sure.
It is a little long, so I'm just going to kind of paraphrase, and then I'll put the rest of it
Okay.
in the question and answer box. So on Friday, April 16th, the Albany Police Department posted a 56-minute Facebook Live video in response to the riot. So members participating in the riot were yelling racial slurs to three young Black police officers, one not even 3 months on the job, and a friend of the individual that asked this question. So in a nation where we are trying to create more diversity and trust in police departments, we will never achieve this, even if the young Black police officers who are trying to make a difference are subjected to that treatment. What would you say to those young Black police officers?
Oh, that's a great question. So I know many officers in the Albany Police Department, and I've actually spoken to them. And so this is what I would say is, first, I listen. I want to hear how they feel. And then I want to encourage them. This is a very tough job. And if you don't know, the Albany Police Department is short almost 100 officers. So it can be dangerous. But I've spoken to them, and I encourage them. And I would encourage them further as mayor to say, look, I understand what you signed up for. It's not an easy job. I need you on this job, but I want you to be safe. What can I do to make your job safer so you feel more safe at your job, okay, and more sturdy of sort, so you can be a better law enforcement person to the community at large? Let's deal with everyone, with mutual respect and understanding, and try to emphasize again that we're all on the same team. And I really got to celebrate, because what was hurled at them was wrong. Because everyone in this world, and before all this, I just see it in my coaching and business, everyone wants the benefit of the doubt in life. There's a lot of people in this life that want it, that aren't giving it. And that's unfair to any human. So we have to be that bridge and meet in the middle 100%. It's the only way it's going to work. if we're going to get this train on tracks again to move forward into the future. Because if not, Albany's just going to get stuck 20 years behind again. And it shouldn't be. Albany, I've said it before, I'm independent. I've been for and by the people since the beginning. And I think Albany should be the beacon for the entire capital region. It should be a really positive, great model, because there's too many great people and businesses here that deserve better than what we're getting for our tax dollars. I hope that answers everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brandon?
That's all the time we have for questions. So I will pass it back over to Brandon.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. I mean, we really appreciate you taking your time and come talk to us. Let us get to know you more. And we wish you the best with your campaign and hope to see you soon.
Thank you very much. I thank everyone for inviting me in. Jeff, it's always great to see you. I wish all the other speakers the best of luck. And Brandon and Grace, thanks so much for your professionalism. And Jade, thank you so much. And everyone, enjoy the rest of the night. Stay positive, stay healthy, and stay safe, everybody.
Thank you. All right, so we're just going to do a little transition here to our next candidate to join us, who is Alicia Purdy. Alicia is a veteran multimedia journalist with a bachelor's in broadcasting and a master's in journalism. Her career focus has been on politics, government and business, and religion as well. She currently works as a writer and producer of a broadcast news magazine covering issues around the world that affect the people in the capital region. She is a runner and trains in boxing. She is also a certified fitness trainer. She loves coffee, grammar jokes, and reading. She hates hot weather and rudeness. Alicia was born and raised in the capital region, and she and her husband have 5 children and 1 cat named Chester. Please welcome Alicia. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh,
Just
perfect.
Make sure I'm on mute. Is that okay? Everybody got me?
Yeah, perfect.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me tonight. I have been looking forward to this for weeks. I'm really excited that the night is here.
Perfect. If you want to introduce yourself a little bit more, take the time right now and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay. Yes. So you read my bio. Can everybody hear me okay? I got my headphones in. All right. So you read my bio, which is very nice of you. Yes. So I'm a journalist. That's what I do. I've got my master's degree in journalism, my bachelor's in broadcasting, and I am so my focus has been on politics and government, not just specifically the political realm, but specifically government structure. I used to cover the House and the Senate at the federal level. And in New York State, about 15 years ago, I was covering the New York State Assembly. And so I was raised in a very politically engaged family. I was the little girl at the gazebo in the town square, singing all the patriotic songs on the 4th of July, dressed in a red, white, and blue bow tie that my mom made me wear and forced me to learn all the songs from all the branches of military. That was, so I grew up in that kind of a family. My brother served in the military for a long time. So, so learning about politics was something I was already interested in. And so I kind of leaned my, my journalism career in that direction. And people have said to me, you know, why mayor? Why now? All these different things. Well, why not now? First of all, it's a great opportunity to run for mayor. This is really a good climate, actually, when there's upheaval, people are crying out for change. And I, like many other people, there are so many people of skill and talent waiting in the wings. And so really, I believe there are people that are crying out for change that have the ability to step up. I mean, just have it for whatever reason, life happens. And so I decided that this would be the time. So kind of all that experience I've had observing and watching from the sidelines and reporting on it and researching it and digging, I am ready to go. So that's a little bit about my professional background. I am the mother of 5 kids. I recently became a certified fitness trainer, and I love to train in boxing. And I will give you a tip. Most men are very hesitant to throw a punch at a woman in the face. And you can exploit that when you're boxing, and then you can hit first. And then they're like, oh, wait, we're boxing. This isn't a domestic violence situation. And so it's very funny that they are very hesitant. And you keep even in boxing when they're still like, there's like a weird wall here. I feel like I shouldn't be doing this. And I'm like, no, it's okay. I won't get mad, I promise. So anyway, yeah, so that's a little bit about me. My family and I are from this area. And I grew up actually in Greene County and graduated from high school in a little pocket town called Greenville, where I sang at the town square. And when I was right after I graduated grad school, I came back to Albany and started teaching at St. Rose. I taught mass media and communications, and that's when I worked in the assembly and did all that sort of thing. So yeah, there's a little bit about me. There's my nutshell.
Thank you very much for everything. So what we've done today, we have a few questions to ask you, and we can jump right into it whenever you're ready.
Sure.
Alrighty, so the first one we have is, on your campaign page, you state drugs, addiction, mental health, domestic violence, child abuse, and poverty all play a negative role in the city of Albany. How do you see young voters affected by these issues, and how do you as mayor begin to address these issues?
So yeah, those issues are negative to all of humanity. They're negative to the human condition. More, I mean, not just the city of Albany. Obviously, I'm running for mayor, and so it was important that I address that there. But those are human condition issues that will always be in our world. And I think that it's the responsibility of people when someone is struggling, that people who maybe have overcome something like that or have a heart or a compassion to help people with resources and ideas and whatever they can give. I do feel that civic burden of responsibility in the theater of humanity to step up and to do something and not do nothing, and certainly not to do nothing and then complain about it all day. So in terms of the youth, now I am not a youth, so I don't want to speak for the youth, but I do have children that are in their 20s. And so I'll express to you from my personal experience. I hate when people presume that they think they know what you're going through, and then they craft policy under the presumption that they know anything about you. And so it's important to me I love the phrase, seek first to understand. That's absolutely like a guiding principle I live my life by. It's one of the 7 habits of highly effective people. Anyway, so what I've seen in young people, and I apologize if it doesn't encompass anybody, this is just my observation. It is so overwhelming that I think people end up doing nothing, and there's an apathy, and there's a sense of nothing I do is going to change. I'm a one person. I could go out and feed the homeless all day, but there will always be more homeless people, for example. What can one person do? And we're all very connected to our devices and our screens. And it's a quasi sense of community, because it doesn't put a burden of responsibility as a human being, you don't feel that burden, I think, of civic duty to the level to which maybe somebody like our grandparents might have felt, to step up and do something about it. So what I see in young people is what does it matter? Plus, we're all very busy on our screens, and I feel like we have to really mentally pull ourselves away and force ourselves to look around at the world. I'm going to sound like a mom. Just get off our screens and look around at the world around us. Because what happens is when we are distracted, life is still happening. People are still being born, and people are still dying, and people are still contracting diseases, and people are still homeless and sleeping on a street or struggling with poverty. And then we have fewer and fewer people attacking that problem. So I guess my concern, if anything, is the young people feel like there are very few that feel like they're going to amount to anything or be able to ever really affect it. It's a huge problem. It's an overwhelming problem. And so I love that you're doing something civilly engaged for that reason, because I'm just one of those people who naturally I'm a firstborn, I'm in type A. I have that natural sense of responsibility that sits on my shoulders. I was just born that way. And I love seeing that people feel like they can affect, because I believe in the power of one. I truly do. And so to ignite that in somebody and say, no, you're wrong. You could affect change by affecting one life, because you don't know who that person affects, and you just don't know. And so anyway, all that to say, how would I attack it in the city of Albany? Sorry, bring it back full circle. So in terms of the city of Albany, these are problems that will always be part of the human condition. I actually myself have lived, it's a long story, I have been homeless. My family and I, with my kids, we were removed out of our house for a whole situation. And I wasn't sleeping on the street, but we didn't have a home, and we had to live on the good graces of other people until we could get back on our feet. We were on food stamps. We were on social services. That was an extremely difficult time in my life. But now that I look back, I'm almost grateful. First of all, I learned the lesson never to get to that point again. That was my own fault. Second of all, I learned some fiscal responsibility, but also it grew compassion in me for people who live that all the time, and I had a master's degree to fall back on. I was able to find a good job. My family and I were able to climb out of the hole because I had an education that I could employ to help myself move forward. And so in the city of Albany, there are a lot of programs. There are actually, and a lot of people don't know about them. That's a whole different ball of wax, but there actually are programs whether or not they are underfunded, overfunded, misapplied. So that's a starting point right there, is an examination of those things, because I have done the digging as my journalist skills have come in. Someone asked me on my campaign speech, why aren't there more programs for Black children? And that struck me hard. And I thought, I'm not a Black mother with a Black child. I don't know why, but I'm going to go find out. And so I did some digging, and I don't know what kind of program she wanted. She didn't specify. But one of the things the city of Albany has not done well is we obviously have a homeless problem. And I don't mean problem like if that's the blight. I'm just saying it's the plight. We have a homeless plight, and we have blighted buildings that attract, crime and these different things. There's been a really long time that nothing's been done. And I talk to a lot of people. I'm constantly interviewing people. That's the thing I do. I'm always seeking first to understand. And people feel like in the city of Albany that nobody cares because nobody has to care. There isn't any motivation for people to care because there's been, a certain party power for a long time. And so anyway, as mayor, the first thing I want to do is I want to actually take a look at the finances. That's the first thing I want to look at. Where is the money going, and could it be put to better use? Because I have talked to homeless people. I've talked to single parents. I've talked to a lot of different people who have said, hey, have you ever slept at the city mission? Hey, have you ever done, I know somebody right now, I'm going with them tomorrow. They are a success story for the Albany County Sheriff's SHIPS program, because they were living in Tent City. I don't know if you know about Tent City, but it's down there, down by the river. And I said, why didn't you go to the city mission? I'd love to know what, now that's a privately funded program. Why didn't you go to the city mission? And they gave me their reasons, what had happened to them there, what their experience was. And they said, oh, never go to the city mission. Never, I'd rather sleep on the streets. Those are problems. And so what this person was saying to me was, there's a lot of activity of life that's being legislated, and there's a lot of money being thrown around. And he said, but I still slept on the street for years because I couldn't get into the program. I didn't qualify. Or I didn't have access to the internet. I didn't have a smartphone. There were so many reasons why. And so it's not a matter of throwing more money at the situation. Really what it is, and I branded myself as the people's mayor. That's my platform, because I want people to understand that I believe that people are the solution, not money and programs. They're part of the solution, but really people are, because if you don't understand truly what people are going through, then you're going to misapply the solution. And I think that that's what's happened. And I want to find the solution that works for the real people and what they're going through.
Thank you so much for that answer. Touching back on how you stated you were a journalist, you're able to dig deep into things. How do you think your journalism background will positively affect your campaign and the skills you've learned in your past, and you'll be able to bring those into being the next governor or mayor?
Governor, all right, I'll take it. Don't tell anybody, it's my secret. Catch me in 10 years. So I'll tell you, when you're a journalist, first of all, I have to say this to everybody when they hear I'm a journalist. There's no such thing as unbiased media. I'm just going to put it out there. We're all trained in journalism school how to craft a story to fit our agenda. No matter what your agenda is, it's just you're a human being. You cannot help but apply who you are in some regard to whatever you're saying. So just putting that out there. It's a little industry secret. Second of all, so one thing that journalists, so I'm like a true journalist. There are news reporters. There are different levels of journalism. And so I'm a research type of journalist. So the articles that I write are not a quick little 300 words in the Times Union. I'm more like a magazine article where you would do the deep research. And so that is really a passion of mine, is to investigate and to research, which is why I said kind of as mayor, the digging I intend to do, I think will be uncomfortable, because there are several pieces as I'm getting to know. I have a lot of secret agents that don't want their names known, and journalists will go to jail for that. I'd rather go to jail than give up a source, but I have some sources that have shared with me pieces of the puzzle, even just regards to money, anything, police, whatever that is. And there are some areas in which I have not been able to piece that puzzle together. And that really bothers me, because as a journalist, what it tells me is that somebody somewhere knows something, and they're not saying it. And there are a lot, people say, I'll give you an example. Where are my tax dollars going? Potholes, trash, crime, blight building, whatever. People say, I pay, in my area, I pay almost $10,000 a year in taxes. That's a lot of money. That's half my mortgage. More than half my mortgage is in taxes. And my dad has had to pave my road himself. He's hired people to pave the road because the city won't do anything about it. That's just such a tiny little petty example, but it matters to people. So their everyday livability, I'm telling you, before somebody says a shooting, they're going to say, why aren't my leaves picked up on the day the city says they're going to get picked up? It sounds petty, but it isn't, because people's everyday livability also matters. So where is that money coming from? Lincoln Park just had all their trees, their mature trees taken down, and people didn't know, people didn't hear, people were flipped out. They were like, where'd all our mature trees go? You're going to put up basketball courts. You didn't even ask the people who live here. And so information access is another huge problem. So as a journalist, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Channel Albany, but Albany does have a public access channel that the mayor defunded about 2 years ago. And the city of Albany pays for it in their taxes on their Spectrum cable bill. But instead of allocating that, and I'm a firm believer as a journalist in the power of the press, even if I were mayor, to hold myself accountable with checks and balances. I hope there's people out there saying, you said this on this date and at this time, or whatever, you said this in your State of the City address. And now here we are a year later, and what have you done? I would like to be held accountable, because I believe that forces people in political office to do their jobs. So one of my acts as mayor will be, I'm coming for Channel Albany. I want to restore public access, because by broadcasting from a YouTube channel or a Facebook channel, you think you're giving people access, but really you're presenting a picture that you want them to see, rather than them showing up with their own cameras and standing there in front of you and filming what they feel the people would want to see. So I don't want to be a PR mayor. I would like to be the people's press. That's really important to me. I don't know if you guys saw that I was at the Black Lives Matter march a couple of days ago with my camera on. A little bit of that was my journalist in me. This is what we do. But I wanted people to see themselves what was going on, rather than watching 2 minutes on a news clip. I wanted people to see reality, and I wanted to see it for myself as well. So those journalistic skills and that desire for me to truly understand and experience someone else's condition and be in the middle and smell the smells and hear the sounds, that's a big deal for me. And I think that's what makes an effective mayor, frankly.
Just adding on top of that, the next question leads into is, I did see you recently at the local Black Lives Matter protest in Albany. I was just wondering if you want to expand on your experiences there and what you learned from like going around talking to people and stuff.
Yes. Okay. So I keep my ear to the ground with social media as much as I can. And I had heard that there was an event. Someone tagged me at an event at the park at 1:00. And I actually had somewhere to be. I was like, dang it, I can't go. And I was like, no, you are going. So I said to my family, look, I can't go fishing with you. I said, I'm going to go down to the park and I want to see what's going on. Anyway, by the time I got down there, most of the people were the actual like newscast that you saw where the kid's reading from his phone. That part was over, but they were all still there. They were like sitting around smoking cigarettes. So I said, I got out of the car and I had all my stack of mayor papers with me. And I said, my name is Alicia Purdy and I'm running for mayor. I said, hey, I have a question for you. I said, did anyone else from the mayor's office come down here today? And they were like, no. I said, any other mayor candidates show up? They said, no. I was like, hi, I'm Alicia. I'm running as the people's mayor. And I'm here because I have a couple questions for you. So I asked them, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you going through? What's the complaint? What if you, and I was branding them all. You're mayor for a day, go. What's the first thing that you do? And that's what I say to all the people that I talk to constantly when they have a complaint. I say, you're mayor for a day. Boom, I just made you mayor for a day. You got the whole day. Anything you say, it goes. Anything you do, mayor for a day. And you know what? It really gets people's wheels turning. It forces them outside of the big picture and to say, oh, I only get to pick one thing. Now you're like, okay, do I pick a shooting? Do I pick the Black Lives Matter protest? Do I pick my trash? Which would I really want? You know, if I had to pick one thing. And so it was an excellent dialogue. So they were very, very excited and receptive that I was there. So I said, hey, I heard there's another event tonight. Can I come back tonight? Would you mind if I came down and hung out with you guys? And they were like, absolutely. Right. So great conversations. I left. I came back a couple of hours later. And this was really the march, the true march. The other one was kind of like a rally. So I went back up to all the same people. Some of them recognized me, handed out my mayor papers to more people. By the way, not everyone takes those. Some people are like, get away from me. That does happen. And so I walked up and said who I was. And I said, would you guys mind if I walked with you And they were like, yeah, we want you to march. And I said, nope. I said, and I was very honest with them because I'm a very transparent person, and I'm never going to be a big fraud and phony and misrepresent who I am and what I came to do. I don't. And I'm not trying to be all things to all people. Being the people's mayor means you represent as much of the people from a place of understanding as you can and meet their need where they are. That's my platform. And so anyway, I said, look, this is what I'm here to do. I said, if I were the mayor, I really believe it's the mayor's duty to be present at events in her city that could be world changing, or at least experience changing, just even for the people in the city. I said, I want to walk with you. I said, I'm not here in support. I'm not here not in support. I said, I'm here to observe, to listen, and to understand. And I have to tell you, they were beyond excited. They were like giving me sage to burn and mint for my mouth. And they were like, yeah, walk with us. And so I'm going to be honest with you, I took heat for that. I'm running as a Republican. It's a different story why I did that. But anyway, not every Republican, some Republicans were like, what an amazing thing that you just did. No one's ever cared enough to bother. They laugh at these people. They say nasty things. They ignore them, whatever. Other people were like, how could you support Black Lives Matter? How could you be down there? And again, I don't sit here and try to justify. I'm seeking to understand. So I say, what's your problem with a mayor of your city understanding what's going on in her own city? This is what I would do if I were the mayor. I would want to be at this protest, even if I just stood there and watched and tears ran down my face. I want to be there so people know they could come to me. And by the way, all these Black Lives Matter kids that were there yesterday, I don't want to call them kids. I don't know if they all were kids, but that were there when I was there on Saturday, multiple times they had said they emailed, they called the mayor's office. That is a problem. So whatever people think about protesting and riots, the main point that they made in their mayor for a day was that they want to be heard. And I know you're hearing that from other candidates. And I'm telling you, my boots on the ground was they said, protest is the language of people who have no voice. And so what a powerful lesson to learn for somebody who's a mayor candidate. And so when I showed up there, it did get violent. I don't know if you watched my whole video. There was violence. There was somebody dragged out of their car and stomped on the ground while I was standing there. That was very upsetting. But now in that man's defense, I don't defend physical violence, but the driver that got pulled out of his car said the N-word out his window and spat on one of the protesters. And then the protest, I didn't catch that because it was behind me. And all I caught was the man running up the hill and he dragged this guy out of the car and kicked him and beat him. These are real issues. And I was saying in my video, I said, some of these things are protected speech. You can flip somebody off. You can say the F word. Those are all protected speech under Supreme Court decisions. And so is the N word, even though it's hate speech by certain groups, is not under certain legal parameters. But are there natural consequences? Yes. And did that man experience a natural consequence of his action? Yes, he did. And I was like, hey, you want to hurl those words around and somebody punches you in the face? Look, I'm just here to observe. I said, this man got what he had coming, in my opinion. He incited people in an angry way. And you know what? The people that were there were peacekeepers at this event. They were excellent. They came right in to that man. They pulled him off. They pulled him apart. And they were like, you got what you deserved. You take a step back. That was the wrong action. And you know what? It was dispelled in 3 minutes. It was violent for like a minute and a half. It was super tense. And then it was over. People were very peaceful that day. Now, what's going on later? I wasn't there for that. I stayed until like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. I stayed with them. I listened to all their speeches. I did it all. And I'll tell you what, I found it to be a powerful, fascinating perspective of the people's voice and the message. There was a lot of passion. And now it's like, okay, how can I seek to understand what's the nugget here that you actually, what's the crux that started all this? And I had some really interesting perspectives, a lot of different ones, but very interesting.
Thank you. As we sent an interview out to our class and wanted to see what a lot of us were interested in, and it seemed that like violence in the city of Albany was one of the main topics. So how do you look to address the rise in violence that is happening in Albany, also across the whole nation right now, as we're seeing a rise in crime? How would you look to address that?
Well, I can't address it across the nation as much as I would love to, but in the city of Albany specifically. So one of the reasons why, one of the catalysts to the protest the other day, and probably even a little like mini protest riot that happened even before that, was about things that are happening. Dante Wright, Derek Chauvin. These are issues that are infuriating people. Now, some people came with stories of police violence, and we've seen, you know, we saw on the video, the police had acts of violence upon them as well. They had, like, you know, there was things thrown at their head and the window was broken, and, you know, all of it was just a big mess. Addressing violence in the city, and then that's not even, I'm not even talking about that. Even before the last few days, we had drug violence and domestic violence. So again, my perspective as the people's mayor is, first of all, there's always going to be bad people in the world. You literally can't, you'll never get rid of crime and violence. It will never happen, because there will always, no matter how many people desire more for their lives, there will always be people who just want to wreak havoc and chaos. There is. I talked to some Antifa members who were at that Black Lives Matter thing. And when I said I was running for mayor, they're like, go burn in hell, you're part of the problem. And I was like, okay. So you have those days. But addressing violence starts with, again, addressing people. There are reasons that people are violent, and I'm not justifying violence. I'm not, as a form of expression. But there are reasons. It could be a lack of education. It could be economic oppression or depression. It could be that you were abused as a child, and what you know now is to pay abuse forward in the world. But at the same time, from talking to people I've talked to that have gotten themselves out of that hole, one of the paths forward was that people met them where they were willing to deal with their, you know, they're ugly, and they did want more. And there was someone who came alongside them and reminded them at every step, you wanted more than this. I know that this happened maybe at home or in this part of your world. Education is what you said you wanted. We've got to stay the course with what you said you wanted for your life. And these are the paths forward. And so it's not going to encompass everything, but one of the things I've noticed and learned from people is that, oh, that's a good question. I'll address that next. One of the things that, maybe lose my train of thought. It's a very good question. One of the things that I've noticed from people is that there are a lot of people who do want more, but they're not going to speak up. And there are a lot of people who are very, very afraid of where they live. They know their neighborhoods, they know their people, they know who's around, and they're not going to speak up. And so my dream, if I could have a dream here, would be to empower people to take charge of their own lives and to give them the tools to create a future of their own imagination. Should I address these? So I've got a couple questions.
Yeah, I was just about to say, we're running out of time, but we do have time to answer some questions from students that have questions to ask. So go for it.
So I see one here says, do you feel the link as a Republican has been a benefit or a detriment? Since the signal of Donald Trump. Well, let me tell you what, it comes up. Okay, so let me just real quick, I know we're running out of time. So I can't even go into Donald Trump. I don't know, man. I don't want his name attached to mine. I'm just gonna leave that right there and walk away from it. But it does come up amongst Republicans and Democrats, but Republicans too. I met Republicans that were like, I said, hi, I'm here to collect signatures. And they were like, screw you, we hate Donald Trump, slam the door in my face. And I was like, so you have those days too. But let me tell you why I ran as a Republican. I was an independent actually before I decided to switch my affiliation. It's because I wanted to vote in a primary actually. And that's why I did that. But anyway, strategy. First of all, I did not want to face a primary. There's a Democrat primary coming up, and the likelihood, statistically speaking, of a Democrat beating an incumbent Democrat is low. So there's that. Historically speaking, in the city of Albany, there has never been an independent, no party candidate. There's not even an independent party right now in New York, but a no party candidate who's ever won. So the best strategy to win as mayor, in my opinion, was to take, I researched history. I researched all the way back 100 years. It's to take the contrary position and to really draw a line that says, I'm completely different than anything you've ever seen before, not because I'm a Republican, because I actually can't be boxed in. And so when people talk to me, they realize Republican is my name, and that's okay. I'm not rejecting that name. All I'm saying is it was an intentional choice to rise to the top, if that makes sense. And don't get me started on Donald Trump. That's a whole different thing. I was an independent before I wanted to vote in the primary. That's all I'm going to say about that.
All righty. Thank you, Alicia. We are very grateful that you took your time out of your day to come meet with us and talk with us. And time's up, but
Yep,
we wish
okay.
you the best of luck with the rest of your campaign and everything.
Yes, thank you very much. If you have any more questions, you give my email. I'm happy to answer questions.
All righty, sounds
Thanks,
good.
everybody.
All right. All right. And as we move on, we have our next mayoral candidate joining us. Our next mayoral candidate is Lukee Forbes. Lukee is a vocal advocate in the region's Black Lives Matter movement in and around the capital region. He has attended various demonstrations and spoke with many protesters. Lukee also served as a program assistant for the City of Albany and community coordinator for the nonprofits People United Local Support Everywhere, also known as Pulse. Through his experience in nonprofits and summer youth employment programs, Forbes contributes to curriculum and strategies that serve young people in re-entry and workforce development. Please welcome to the program, Lukee Forbes.
How are you doing, everyone?
How are we doing today? If you want to
Today
take
is-
a minute, introduce yourself a little bit more than I just did, please take the time and let everyone know about you.
So today is a wonderful day. I just got done dropping off some supplies to the protesters down there at the precinct in Albany. A little bit about myself. My name is Lukee Forbes. I'm currently a community organizer with Vocal NY during the day as my day job. I started off working in service after I was released from prison. I did 7 years, from which I was incarcerated as a youth for really being a part of an assault when I was 15 years old. Since coming home, I've really been focused in on not only being a mentor towards youth, but also trying to be a role model as to what not to do and then what is a right path. And I really found a lot of joy in the service that I've been able to provide. Like you said, I was a community organizer and coordinator with Pulse, but prior to that, I was also an administrative assistant with the Summer Youth Employment Program for the City of Albany. I was also the youth manager of the Youth Opportunity Office, and I've also worked with Mission Accomplished and several organizations around the capital region, as well as the United Tenants of Albany.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We're thrilled to learn more about your campaign and everything that you're doing right now. So we have a few questions for you, and then at the end, we're going to make sure we have some time for students in the class to put in their questions and have them answered. So whenever you're ready, we can jump right into it and we can get into the
I'm ready when you are.
All righty, sounds good. So our classes discussed police reform and its impact on our community, as well as a well-known activist against police brutality. What aspects of criminal justice reform do you believe would positively impact the people of Albany, and how do you see young people's roles in creating this new police reform?
So the one thing that I will have to say is that if we're not talking about renewing the contract that the city has with the police department itself, and really going off of what they are actually able to do as far as what we agree upon as a city and the police, as well as what the unions can do and cannot do, and really redefining that, we're not going to have any actual police reform. What we've been watching throughout the years is a systematic oppression being done on certain communities, as well as money being allocated to the police department, and the police department servicing different calls that they probably shouldn't be involved with, such as domestic calls and things like that, which statistically has proven that police have been able to really incite those things more than de-escalate those things, as well as dealing with mental health situations that police have been statistically proven to incite, and those things can end up with violence happening, and those are typically caused by the police department. So the one thing that I can say that young people can do to really help change that is get involved with the policies and procedures that you see going on, really get involved with the Common Council, with your local elections, and really get involved with the organizations that are lobbying these different issues, that are drafting up these different bills, and learn the political process yourself so that you can get involved in the political process. Because again, as long as we're not talking about systematic changes as far as policies, we're not talking any real change. If we're just only want to give the police a class on how not to be racist when they grew up their whole lives with racist tendencies indoctrinated into their cultures, it's not going to really change anything, especially when their policies themselves kind of enforce the oppressions that they have on the communities.
Thank you so much for that. So as you stated, you state you're not a politician. You're just someone who wants to move Albany into the future. So what is your vision for that future? And how do you see us as college students being a part of this shared vision?
So I see the reason why I'm saying I'm not a politician, that I'm a person, is because we have to look at things for what they are. I really try to compare everything back to history. History has shown that monarchies have governed our world forever. And right now we're still watching that system of monarchy where people are kind of born into their positions, one, and it's kind of a social class where people are born police officers because their father was a police officer, their grandfather was a police officer. That's kind of similar to back in the days when we had knights. And then you have the politicians who are born into their positions, and that's what we have, the nobles. And then you have the people that are just really born into the money, and that's when you have the royalty. So when we watch these social classes continue to govern over us and them never really vote in the favor of the working people, which would nowadays be considered the peasants. So we have to really look at what is going on. We believe that we're in a democracy, but is it truly a democracy until the common folk get involved? So by me running, I'm hoping to encourage you who are still going to college, who are still consuming this information, also get involved and really promote this for the common person to get involved in the political process and us to have more common people in there creating policies and procedures that benefit the common folk. Because as long as directly impacted people aren't drafting policy changes for these social issues, then we're not going to really see any real policy changes. A representative will never have the same amount of passion as a victim.
Thank you very much. And also, so being young like us, we're a little bit younger, but being a younger mayoral candidate, what kind of advantage do you think that gives you compared to traditional older mayor candidates?
So the actual thing that it gives me is that they've already lived their lives. Old dogs are kind of stuck in their ways versus the newer dogs where we're learning from their mistakes. We're learning what's new going on. I was really getting a lot of my message out with social media and QR codes, which if I was to tell that to one of the older electeds that are trying to run right now, they wouldn't even know what a QR code is or how to explain that to someone. So it kind of helps me as far as like messaging wise, utilizing the different social platforms, as well as coming up with the most radical changes that can really change our system that has been so oppressive to a lot of our different community members. And we're looking at it from a different perception. We're not looking at it from, we're looking at it from what they have caused, as well as what we see currently going on, versus them only looking at it from what they currently see going on versus the things that were caused in their era.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Also, from doing some reading about your campaign, you're talking about and you're keen on initiating a new youth employment development program. So I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit more about this, what your goals about it are, and especially for youth employment, how will it affect us as college students?
So I really want to encourage the youth to really get involved in STEM, as we're starting to see more and more careers shift over. COVID-19 has really showed us everything. When companies were applying for the PPP loan, companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin were going to space. They were just sending rockets out. They weren't worried about the funding. You've seen so many jobs and careers switch over to automated systems. So it's important that we're encouraging our youth to really become more STEM focused and really focusing in on those things. As far as what it means for college students, it also means providing that knowledge and assistance to really help encourage you guys in the career choices that you're trying to get into, as well as creating more pipelines into those.
Thank you. Another question we do have is, how do you believe we can create an environment in the Albany City where all members are given equal opportunities to succeed?
all members have to be at the table. I was just explaining this to someone before. If everyone's not at the table, everyone's voice isn't heard. You have to make sure that it is an open mic policy for everyone to be a part of every meeting. There can't be any more closed doors. As long as there's a closed door, that means that there's a hierarchy really making the final decision. Everyone has to be involved in all steps of the procedure just to make sure that we're really coming up with the proper form, and we're really letting every single last perception be involved in there. Because when we're looking at life, life is full of so many different perceptions. Even us as a person, someone that you know may perceive you a certain way versus someone else perceiving you another way, and in the way that you perceive yourself. Now, this is the same way when it comes to these bills and these policies that we're viewing and the way that our cities are governed. Most people who live in a suburban area, they don't understand the amount of police brutality that happens, because they're normally on the end where they're calling the police, versus the people who grow up in the communities who normally get the police called on them. They have a different perception as to how their interactions are with the police. And that's the same thing as bills, and it's the same thing as people. So it's necessary that we have everyone at the table and that each voice is heard and weighed.
Completely agree. Also, because you are a very vocal advocate and a good activist in this area, I would like you to expand more on things that you've been doing recently, and then how students in our classroom can get involved, because I know that's something we've been talking about all semester long. I'd just love to hear for that.
So really getting involved, link up with these organizations that are currently doing these things and add your voices, because that is how we get, again, the different messaging. And then also being involved in these different organizations. These organizations are full of directly impacted people. So if you don't know about the social issues and you want to learn more about it, that's who you need to speak with, not the people who are just kind of giving you the information that they read from a book versus growing up in it. Also, just really getting involved in lobbying, getting involved in the different actions that you see going on around the city. Again, it allows you a different perception and a different experience on what social reform looks like, because it takes all aspects. No change has happened without protests, as mixed with a mixture of lobbying, mixed with support of the allies that are in these political seats as well. So it needs everything involved. So in order to get really fully involved with the organizations and the programs that are going on, I would suggest get involved with one of those.
Perfect. And then touching on your campaign, how have you been utilizing social media platforms such as Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and stuff to help you with your campaign? And how can people follow you on those and keep up to date with what you're doing?
So I would, my name is Lukee Forbes on Facebook and Instagram, and then it's Forbes Lukee on Twitter. I post a lot. I typically go live, and if situations are going on, I will also record it from the page. I've been doing a lot of actual actions and forums, and I typically plan on doing a lot more, especially as the primary comes closer, because I didn't gather enough signatures to get on the ballot. So I'll be running as a write-in. Even though it is still a long shot, I really need to be involved in these conversations, because as people are speaking on these issues, they're speaking on it from one angle, and they're only going to say law and order. That's the only way to solve everything. But we have to look at it from a different angle and start to add care and compassion to everything that we're doing. We have to look at it from the statistically proven things that have helped us lower crime rates, lower homelessness, lower HIV, Hep C, and these things that are going on in our communities, because these are the real things: lower crime and poverty, lower housing insecurities. And also it helped enhance education within young community members. These are the actual things, but they're only going to explain one way in solving that. And that's by locking everyone up and giving more money to the police departments and allowing them to over-police communities. That is what tears communities down repeatedly for the past 400 years. When you put community members under the control of these police that kind of sap most of the money from the individuals. So that's kind of one of the things that I'll be focused on.
Perfect. And before I get into the next question, if any of the participants have any questions or anything, just throw them in the chat or put them in the question answer box. But another question I would just like to ask you is, if elected mayor, what would be the first order of business for you? Like the first thing you would do once you get in there?
The first thing that I would do is I would start to fix, it's kind of twofold, because I would actually start to kind of fix and address a lot of the housing insecurities that are going on in the city of Albany. And I would kind of take some of that funding from the police department. So it will kind of be in a twofold.
All right, perfect. And then how would you go about, so let's say, cleaning up the city of Albany? So trash on the streets, cleaning up parks. What is your opinion on that? How would we go about that, would you say?
So DGS is one, a lot of DGS workers have not been doing their jobs. I used to work for the city of Albany. I know for a fact that some of them just kind of just drive around there. We need to start putting these people under evaluations and also holding them to their merits, making sure that they're doing their hours and they're not just lacking on the job, as well as providing them with the proper resources that they need to clean our areas. You know, they have the those little go-karts that have the vacuum on it that we can provide to them that can help us really clean these parks up more, and also encourage people to get involved in the different community cleanups that do go on, and support those organizations that do those things. So there are a few ways that I'll get involved in that. And also another tactic in helping lower the amount of discarded syringes that we have around the city is create a syringe exchange program within our city, so that we can also lower the amount of dangerous things that we see in our parks.
Yeah. Thank you for that answer. Another question we have is, growing up, did you have any political, or recently, do you have any mentors that are mentoring you through your political career or journey?
Yes, I have a few. I have a ton of mentors. I've loved always having mentors everywhere I've been. Again, I had a different upbringing. I grew up in juvenile and I was sent to prison from there. And I say it like that because a lot of people, they think that they're passing prejudgment, but again, it's all about perceptions. Most of the Black fathers that are in our communities are in prison right now. So I kind of grew up in an area surrounded by Black fathers who did not want to see a kid in prison, especially I've always exceeded in learning and wanting to learn more things. So they really encouraged me and always supported me in learning more things and wanting to be better, as well as once I was released, I've always had a plethora of mentors. I've been mentored by Paul Collins Hackett, Sean Young, a few other individuals within the Capital Region that have stand strong within my development. Amy Jones, I've spoken with her a few times, and she has given me a lot of different foresight. There's a lot of different names that I can definitely mention that have played a big part in my development throughout the years.
All righty, perfect. So I think it's time to open it up to the class. If anyone has any questions, just please put them in the chat or the question answer box. Grace is going to be able to moderate the questions, ask these questions that are coming in. So I'll give everyone just a minute or so. Think of a question. Just feel free to ask whatever. And yeah.
So I think the question, why do you believe defunding the money from the police will help lower the crime rate? So what we see going on in this community all the time, and this is something that I kind of love explaining. The community right now, Albany is one of the worst places to raise a Black child. And that's according to the Child Opportunity Index, stating that white kids have 87% more opportunities than the Black children that are growing up in the city. Then add that to the amount of housing insecurity that we're seeing going on in the city currently. A lot of people are living in dilapidated homes, as well as we see a lot of absentee property owners that allow these homes to dilapidate. And then we're seeing the afflux of larger developers come in and develop these luxury apartments that make the housing rents unstable. So people's rents are unstable. You have the lack of opportunity. And then on top of that, our current mayor also gives these larger developers tax credits. So now they're not paying the property tax that they would be paying if this tax credit isn't given. So now you have lack of opportunity, unstable housing, unfunded schools. That is the cesspool of crime. That is the cause and meat and potatoes of crime. So systematically, these programs have been underfunded. These communities have been allowed to dilapidate. So this is why we're seeing crime happen in the first place. So if we were to stabilize homes, if we were to add opportunities, if we were to increase education, that is what solves crime, not over policing. So it doesn't really matter how much extra funds the police have. It's not going to stop crime. It's only going to create it.
All right, it looks like we got a couple more questions coming in from people. All righty. From Cheyenne, we have, in your opinion, what is the importance of mentorship and representation specifically for people of color? And how can, as young adults going into the world, be better mentors, role models, etc.?
So the importance of mentorships is really important. A lot of homes have been displaced due to mass incarceration, the war on drugs, and violent crime that we see going on in communities. So people of color already, they have negative influences within the radios, on TVs, that already promote this propaganda of a negative lifestyle. Now, that representation goes not only to our youth, but it also goes to the different communities, and that's how they view us, and that's how they think we're represented. So when it comes to representation, we need more educated Black people to take up representation spaces. We don't need anyone to represent us. We need to represent ourselves on a more common front. And then the importance of mentorship, especially positive mentorship, is important because we don't need children raising themselves, one, and we don't need children being raised by the radio or these different TV shows and things like that. So mentorship is important. It is extremely important. And if you are mentoring a youth of African descent, I suggest that you encourage them to learn more about their past, their history, and really study in that. And I'm not speaking about slavery. I'm speaking about post-slavery and after it and before it. So you want to teach them all the history that is lost, not the history that is pushed on them, because that is, again, oppression, and teaching them to be oppressed within their own minds and not really be encouraged to be astronauts, lawyers, and scientists. So it's what you're encouraging them to do, what you're encouraging them to learn about.
Thank you so much. Looks like we have another one, and it's members participating in the riot this past week were yelling racial slurs to a young Black police officer, one not even 3 months on the job. In a nation where we are trying to create more diversity and trust in police departments, we will never achieve this, as even the young Black police officers who are trying to make a difference are subjected to that treatment. What do you say to these young Black police officers?
So let me think about that one for a second, because I have mixed feelings about this. I really believe that we need to be in every single last room. We need to be at the table. We need to be there. We need to represent ourselves. But unfortunately, just because you are a Black officer does not mean anything, because you are governed by a systematically racist policy. The policies of policing, once you go into your office, if you cannot arrest another officer on spot when they are doing something illegally, and if you ignore it, and if you don't do it, you're again still following the rules of that impression. You're oppressing your peers. You're just enforcing the same oppressive laws. It's not changing anything if you're going in there to be one of them. So that right there is kind of what I say to everyone that is speaking on the issue of Black people as police officers. It's not them, it's the policies. As long as the policies remain the same, their actions will be governed by those policies, as well as the individuals in their organization that are oppressing them as well. Because if one of these Black cops were to call out a white cop, he will be cut off from the rest of the police. They will shun him. They will say that he violated the blue wall of silence, and they will isolate him. And that is dangerous for anyone. So it is not the cop's fault. It is, again, just the policy. So as long as the policies stay there, it doesn't matter as many Black cops as on the force, those policies are the same.
Thank you for that. Looks like we got a couple more questions. Someone's wondering, how do you plan to solve housing issues in Albany?
So I really want to focus in on affordable housing as well as cooperatives to really encourage people into ownership and teaching them how to really get into that state. We're seeing, as well as stabilizing a lot of the dilapidated homes that we're seeing come up, and also enforce more code on the absentee landlords that we see here. So one, to stop the increase of dilapidated homes, to stabilize the ones that we see already, as well as to increase the knowledge of cooperatives and resources into establishing cooperatives and affordable housing.
Thank you. And then looks like with a few more minutes, we have one last question. Do you think fixing the lives that are children will make a difference in systematic racism that exists? If you were able to, how would you fight to reform the lies that our children learn in school?
Like Christopher Columbus discovering America, things like that. So the mayor doesn't really have that much that they can really do with the curriculum that the schools are learning. But when it comes to after school programs, I definitely do want to really encourage and support the organizations that are already giving this knowledge out to the community on the different things that our government didn't teach us or was a complete lie.
Well, thank you very much for all those answers. If anyone else has any more questions, you can put it in the question answer. Someone said they didn't have a question, but thank you, brother. That's what he said.
Thank you.
So I would just like to say thank you for answering our questions. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come meet with us. And oh wait, we got another one. Do you feel that you could be neutral in making decisions that affect everybody?
Do I think I could be neutral? Yes. One, I was actually just speaking with during another meeting, we was actually talking about different lenses and looking at things from a different lens. So the different lens that I try to look at things from is more of a intersexual lens in general, because I want to look at it from all the different oppressed groups. As we've seen, oppression is not only here, nor is it only towards Black skin, nor is it only towards race. It is also class. It is also social understanding. It is also sexual orientation. It has so many different layers to it that I kind of typically look at things as to how it affects everyone around the border. Because again, I'm really big on perceptions and how different things are perceived by all these different social groups, because everyone's voice hasn't been heard. And as someone whose voice has not been heard, I want to make sure that not only my voice is heard, that everyone's voices is heard. So I really feel that I can be extremely neutral. Even when it comes towards people who have indoctrinated white supremacist thoughts, I've still been able to conversate with them and still make neutral decisions when it comes to them, because I understand that it's just it's only a mindset as to where they've indoctrinated a perception off of the realities that they've lived and the different people that's been in their lives. So I really have strong feelings that I can be neutral.
Thank you. And then also we have one, not a question, but someone says, thank you for being a young voice in this climate. You speak beautifully.
Thank you.
So as we're running out of time here, I think we only have a minute or so. I'd just like to say thank you again, once again, taking the time out of your day to come speak with us and talk to us more about issues in the Albany city. And then before you go, just one last question. What is your favorite thing about the Albany area? Anything
My
free,
favorite thing,
however.
my favorite thing about the Albany area is that we are in the capital of New York, right? Now, the capital of New York is where all the laws are made. So if we're able to change the capital of New York, we're able to change the policies and procedures of New York. And if we're able to change the policies and procedures of New York, we're able to now influence the rest of the world, because New York is so trendy. We're able to now change the rest of America and possibly change the rest of the world. So we have the ability to be the mecca of everything. So we can really just be the promised land, or we can be we can allow the same cycle to continue to go on, where we just again enforce the same narratives that everyone is going to be saying.
Alrighty. Well, what time is it right now? 7:30. Yep. Well, I think that's all we have for today. Once again, thank you. I wish you the best of luck in your campaign and everything going on. Hope to see a lot more from you in the future. And just
please follow my Facebook and my Instagram and my Twitter. Again, my Facebook is Lukee Forbes. My Instagram is Lukee Forbes. And my Twitter is Forbes Lukee.
Alrighty. Thank you very much. Have a great one. Wish you the best on everything you do.
Thank you. You too.
Alrighty. And we have one more candidate coming on. I'm not sure if she has joined yet. So let's see. So I'll just start an introduction and hopefully she joins during it, but we'll find out. So our final guest of the night is going to be Reverend Valerie Faust. Reverend Faust has passionately worked with various organizations, committees, and groups to further justice, equal rights to all people. Among others, she has served tirelessly on the Albany Gun Violence Task Force, the Juvenile Accountability Board under juvenile probation, and in the District's Attorney's Office, as well as the Martin Luther King Scholarship Committee in the Council of Community Churches. A former educator, she is the founder and senior pastor of the Living World Tabernacle in Albany. She understands the importance of meeting people where they are and helping them to achieve their goals for a better life. She has demonstrated her desire to serve the people with compassion and unity by marching with them, carrying signs, and chanting positive slogans to demand justice and equality for all. As a supporter of Labor and Religion Coalition, she has lifted her voice calling for equity in education, workers' rights, housing, and other important areas of human rights. Valerie has a Bachelor's of Science degree in elementary education in sociology from Long Island University in Brooklyn, New York. She's happy to be finishing up her work on her PhD in pastoral counseling. So please help me and welcome Reverend Valerie Faust.
Hello.
How are we doing today?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Well,
I
so
like
glad
that.
you're here. Thank you to take time out of your day to come speak with us. I want to offer you a little bit of time right now. I just read a little bit about you, but please explain a little bit more about yourself to the class and what you're all about.
Well, I am an activist. I've been living in Albany for over 30 years, and I got into activism through my church, helping my parishioners out and helping them out. They had a myriad of problems from family court to jail problems to homelessness to sickness. And so I was out there trying to help them through their issues. And I found out that they were having a lot of problems and there were a lot of roadblocks. So I got out there more trying to get services for them. In the interim, they started telling other people how I was helping them. And so one thing led to another. I started helping everybody, it seemed like. And then various organizations started hearing about me, and I started working on boards and working with the probation department for both adults and juveniles. I work with the DA office. I went to the jails once a week to help inmates who needed mental health or get a news to their family or put a little money into their commissary. You know, I was on the Albany Gun Task Force, and I ran twice before. So my heart is for helping people and making changes and helping people to help themselves to also make changes. So I'm a reverend. I've been a pastor since 1996. I've been a reverend long before that. And my experience as a reverend has helped me to be compassionate, do compassionate leadership. And so I don't dribble on too long. That's pretty much it there.
No, you're fine. You can take your time, answer any question. We got enough time, so we can get
Okay.
Alrighty. So what we've done, we have a few questions for you tonight, and we just want to let you answer them truthfully and tell us how you feel about it. And whenever you're ready, we can get started and jump right in.
Okay. I'm ready.
Okay, let's get it. All right. So your campaign talks about accountability, inclusivity, and opportunity. Can you take some time to expand on how those three main points and how that will translate to building a better Albany together? And how can us as college students be a part of this transformation that you're looking?
Okay, very good. Well, when we talk about equity, we're talking about having everyone at the table. Equity is a little different from equality. And so when I talk about equity, it is to help people to know that, let me look at my note right too. There's not enough equity. There's not enough fairness. There's not enough going around for all people. This is not just Black and brown people being left out, but people who own homes. They don't have the equity that they need to pay for their homes and to do the things that they need to do. So my definition of equity, and I'm going to read that for you because I think it's important that we are very clear on what I'm talking about, because equity to different people mean different things. So when I talk about equity, I'm talking about how people come together and how they are all treated equal. In many ways, the responsibility for us to have positive change, you got to be fair to all people. So when I talk about equity, I'm talking about people of all colors, of all races, people of all economic stratas, all educational levels being treated the same. So that's what equity means to me. And when I talk about inclusion, that is talking about everyone being able to have a word, to have a point of view, to be able to speak at the table, to be able to say what they need to say, not left out of the equation. A lot of times when we're talking about inclusion, it leaves out a whole segment of people. And so we don't want to do that. So when I talk about having inclusion, I'm talking about at the jobs at City Hall. I'm talking about jobs around the city, helping business owners to hire people who may not otherwise be hired, by offering them incentives to include them in equal pay, to include them in getting a decent job that will help them take care of their families and do what they need to do as well. So now, am I going in the way that you are wanting me to go here? Because I'm just running on. I'm a talker. So, and so when we're talking about diversity to me means variety. It's different. It's Black, it's white, it's Hispanic, it's rich, it's poor, it's the uneducated, the educated. So you don't just single out a segment, but you include everyone. So that's what I'm talking about, making City Hall a diverse place where all people are included, not just people, the brown and Black people, but everyone, because people are trying to make this, oh, she's going to be working just for African American and people of color. No, because when one race is down, we all suffer. When one community is down, we all suffer. I live in the 15th ward. No one is getting shot up here, but when someone is shot down in the 4th ward or in Auburn Hill, that affects me. That affects you because you may not want to go in that area. You may not want, you fear for your children who may have to go in that area. So we're all affected by crime. And so if we get diversity going and no one is left out, you know, that the city hall would be more diverse, jobs at different departments in city hall, around city hall. You know, you have the police department, you have the fire department, you have parks, you have the housing department. How diverse are those departments? How diverse are their employees there and the people who are there serving? So diversity, we don't have enough of that here in the city. So when I talk about these things, how is that going to change the city? When you include all people, when you do not just leave out one race, you leave out one economic strata, you're helping people with money, and the people who don't have money, who wants to open up a business or who wants to buy property, and there's no fairness there, there's no way for them to get in and be a part of the situation, then you have problems. You have problems. And when people are unhappy, when people don't have jobs, when people are suffering with poverty, when they're suffering with crime in their neighborhoods, you're going to have a bunch of angry, unsatisfied people. So I want to, as mayor, bring people together. Not only diversity in jobs and working at City Hall and around the city, but a diversity in how we allow people to be a part of the process, you know, that it's fair who's at the table. And let me see what else you was on there on the question here. How will this translate into building a better Albany? When you have diversity, when you have equity, when you have equality, when you have inclusion, when you have opportunity, you're going to have a group of happy citizens because no one is going to be left out. And the way I plan to do that is after getting into City Hall, getting to meet with the Common Council, getting to meet with department heads around the city, getting to meet with the activists in the city, the people who have organizations that work to embed and to lift people up, those people, and talk about those things. Look at the budget with a fine-tooth comb and see how we can fix the budget and how we can get out of our deficit. So there's a lot to be done, but when you start dealing with people where they are, when you really have a compassionate leadership, when you have a transformational leadership where you're picking everyone up and including everyone, changes happen. People begin to get hope again. People begin to have faith in the system again, and people begin to want to be a part of the system again. So those are some of the things I would like to do, and hopefully as I get to know the Common Council and different heads, then we can start working on the issue. My number one issue is public safety and gun violence, and then go down that list and deal with each one of those and have the people at the table with me, because no one person can do this. No one person.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you for the answer. And it leads into my next question, which was, what do you believe is the most pressing issue for the city of Albany? And to you said gun violence. So what is your approach to reducing gun violence in the city of Albany? What are you looking to do, and how do you plan to address this issue?
Well, I think I'm in a unique position because, as I said, as a pastor, my parishioners, most of them live in the inner city. They have children who are part of gangs. They have children who know the system of uptown, downtown, the various gangs that's in town. They know, and they have children who are in the in crowd. And so in my position, and I've already talked to some of the parents and some of the people who know gang members about getting at the table, bringing them together, having a plan for them, having something to offer them in place of laying their guns down, talking to to them about the various beats, because I don't know if you know, the uptown and downtown in Troy and Albany has been going on like the Hatfields and the McCoys. And so you have to really get in there. You cannot want to solve an issue and you don't get into what the issue is. Why are they doing this? Why are there retaliations? Why are they using guns? Where are they getting the guns from? Several years ago, when I was on the gun task force, I was able to buy a gun. And the amazing thing about buying this gun, which cost me $700, before I get to the end of the story, I turned it into the police department. But what shocked me was the person who took me to get the gun, the house was in a beautiful neighborhood. I was shocked when they parked and said, okay, I got to go in this house. And so, there are people here who know where these guns are coming from, and they know who are selling guns. And I think that because of knowing so many people who are on the inside of the problem and getting them to come to the table, I think that's a beginning to talk to them about the guns, to talk to them about the crime. Now, remember, it's not just gun violence. We had an increase in rapes and burglaries and assaults. So it's not just that as a crime. So when we go back to talking about diversity and being inclusive and being given opportunity to get a decent job, opportunity for decent housing, opportunity for being a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. So getting these kids together, getting these young men together, getting these parents together, siblings together, and talk about it, ending it, I think I would have a good opportunity, because people are not wanting their loved ones to die. Their sisters, their brothers, their mothers, their fathers. They want to end to this. And I think they will put pressure on the people that they know that's in this to come to the table and let's talk. And I think that if we have something to offer them, if we have some kind of promise of you put your gun down, you put your drugs down, we have jobs for you, we have training for you. You can't just take it away and then offer nothing in return and not be able to back it up. So that's one of the things I would like to do. And I think that will work. At least starting people to think more about, we can lower the gun violence rate in this city.
Thank you. Another question I have is, as I read, you stated you could practically use the same speech or platform you ran on during your first run in 2009. So other than gun violence, what were some of the issues that you were focusing on in 2009 that still have not seen much change, that need more attention and focus on?
Housing is the same, if not worse. Jobs, it's the same, if not worse. In fact, it's worse. Getting jobs to the youth. I think Mayor Jennings did a lot for the summer programs, for summer jobs, and then it was cut when our new mayor came in, and so a lot of kids didn't get jobs. The other thing that didn't change is the crime level got worse. They want another gun violence task force. Well, you didn't do anything with the first one. And so that type of thing. The other thing that has not changed, which is dear to me, is the ability to help. For instance, let me give you for instance. We've tried to get young African-American people of color to work in construction and to work in various jobs for the city, but they couldn't get to the jobs. So we tried to work on a car program or a transportation program so they could get to the jobs, and that never came through. So now we have a similar situation with the young people in the inner city that works at Amazon in Skodak. cab driver was telling me how he picks them up and they have to pay all of this money to go to work and to get back. And I think that the average person is going to quit that job because it's going to take too much to get there and back. So that was a problem back then, and now it's a problem in a different situation. So I think that we're not doing sustainable things that to help people, things that will last. And I don't think that we're going back to the drawing board. If a problem, if you have a situation and you're trying A, B, and C, and A, B, and C don't work, why do you keep trying A, B, C year after year after year? You have to go back to the drawing board and come up with D, E, and F. Let's do something different. Let's involve different people. Let's be more creative. Let's be more innovative. And I don't think that we're having that in our administration right now. And I think that you really have to think outside of the box in order to bring the changes. So no, 10 years ago, I could say the same things. Transportation, a lot of seniors still complain about transportation, getting to certain places, which is a simple thing, but you know, you have to work it out with the bus line to change it, shift it a little bit to help out people, shift it so people can get to jobs at the mall or various places. Guess what else I just recently realized is still an issue? Sidewalks for handicapped people. Someone told me recently, well, we have to fight for them to make more sidewalks for handicapped people to make it easier for handicapped people to get around. So no, not much has changed, and many things have gotten worse.
Well, thank you for that answer. And we got one more question, but before we get there, we're going to have some time for questions at the end. So if anyone has any questions, you can either throw them in the chat. I see there's already a question in the question answer box, but you can just throw them in there. And I got one more question. So as you stated, you are a reverend, and you talked about it a little bit, but what benefits do you think you get from that background of being a reverend that will translate very nicely and very well to becoming a mayor, and how can this help you?
Well, the basic way is in order to help people, you have to be sensitive to their needs. In order to help people, you have to be compassionate. You have to be open. You have to be patient. You have to be able to almost walk in their shoes to understand what they're going through. And so I think having been a pastor and being brought into politics, I wasn't a politician, but I was very political. I was going to the Capitol. I was going to Washington. I was going to our own Capitol. I was making speeches all over the place about equity and a moral agenda to treat people right and to include people, and the whole thing with diversity and equity and equality. And so I think as the mayor, it's just going to be a transfer into just another place, but I'm the same person who loves people. It doesn't matter, what they're about. It doesn't matter about their gender, about their sexual preference. It doesn't matter, if they're rich or poor, white or black. It does not matter, because you know what? We are all human beings first. And then we all have the same needs. We want to be loved, understood. We want to have people to respect us, to accept us. And I'm that person who can include people, can listen, and want people to be a part of the change. I want people to be a part of making their lives better. And so that is how I've lived. Like I said, I've been a pastor since '96, and I've been a minister long before that, before I moved to Albany. And my focus has always been making life better for other people, looking at situations, looking at the way to make things change, looking at how I can help people pull themselves up and be a part of the solution and no longer a part of the problem.
Thank you. So like I said, if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in there. I see there is one already, so I'll read that out right now.
Okay.
How do you plan on increasing the accessibility of STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and math programs to young and Black and brown children?
Well, that's already happening. A lot of the sororities and the fraternities are making that a priority to get Black and brown children into engineering and other professions that we usually don't. When I say we, because I'm Black as well, that we usually don't gear towards. And so I would just continue to work with the sororities and business owners who are in that line of business to take mentors, take the children under their wings and teach them to, because you can't really be interested in something you don't know about or someone doesn't introduce to you. And so I would definitely work to increase the work of the fraternities and sororities. In fact, my granddaughter is working with AKA Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated, which I am a SORA in that organization. And they're teaching them technology, about technology, about not only about the technology field, but also about how to present themselves, how to be young ladies. So it's a whole program that is preparing their minds to do engineering, to understand engineering and technology on a wider scale and go into those fields.
That's awesome. Thank you for that. I got another question here. With living through COVID-19, everything in the pandemic, and you're a member of the church, so many churches seem to close during this time. Do you feel this has caused an impact on the increase in crime? And do you feel like there's like a correlation between those two things?
I think so. I think so because, it's an old saying, an idle mind is what? The devil's workshop, and when people are sad and they're scared and they're broke and they're lonely and they're going stir crazy. Several of my parishioners complain about their children sneaking out of the house when they were trying to tell them, look, it's dangerous out there. I don't know who you're going around. You're not practicing safe habits out there. And it caused a lot of family problems at the time. And yeah, it caused their kids to hang out in the street with the wrong people and get into trouble, and so it was a burden. It's a burden on the adults. Then they're not in school. They can't visit their friends. They can't stay over. Adults were going crazy alone, not being able to live life as they were accustomed to. So yeah, a lot of family problems ended up in among my parishioners. A lot of children started acting up that didn't act up before. A lot of couples were going at it. There was an increase in smoking weed, and there was an increase in drinking. So yeah. And that led to their kids being out there getting into trouble and being around the wrong people. So yeah, COVID had a lot to do with messing us all up, on one level or the other. And but some people weren't able to pull through as easily as others.
Yeah, it's been a long year.
Yes.
So as we wait for other people to possibly enter questions, because we only got a couple more minutes, I want to ask a question I've asked to a couple of the other contestants. What is your favorite thing about Albany? What's your favorite part about Albany? Answer that however you feel, but just curious, what is your favorite thing about the city?
My favorite thing about the city is that you can, there's a lot, the schools. Now, years ago, years before COVID and crime and things like that, you had places to go. I could go down to Lock Street and it was more flourishing than it is now. I could go to Pearl Street, and Jillian's was down there, and probably long before your time. But you could find various restaurants and eat, and you could really, you didn't have far to go to get to recreation, to get to the museum, to get to art. I love that. But then things change. Businesses started closing. You couldn't go down to Pearl Street anymore to eat. The youth took it over, and then drinking and drugging and cops and things started happening. So what I loved about it has changed. So what I would like to do is make it, bring it back alive, get those restaurants, those blighted buildings occupied again, and get businesses opening up again, and to help them open up without the red tape that stops a lot of the young people, especially from opening up businesses and being sustained. So as I said, what I liked about it has changed. A lot of the restaurants are gone. A lot of the places are gone that you could hang out. A lot of, the flavor has changed up in Albany. And I'd like to bring that back as mayor and encourage people to open businesses again. To the main thing I'd like to do is light up South Pearl again and Log Street. And when you do that, and you start working on the crime and start working on gun violence and start getting more positive behavior from our youth, then people can feel safe again, or safer, again. So I would like to see it come back to, yes. That was a call. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So it's 8 o'clock, about to turn 8:01. I mean, it's all the time we have, but I would just like to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your night to come speak with us. And we wish you the best of luck with your campaign and anything that you happen to take on in the future.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And
much.
you can go to my website, reach out, and let me know if any of you guys want to volunteer. Okay. All
Yep.
right.
You have
All
a
right.
wonderful
Thank you.
day.
Good
you.
night.
All righty. And to all of participants, I would just personally like to say thank you to Jading and the whole entire stage committee for helping with this. I want to thank you all for joining our program. And after, you're going to receive an evaluation similar to last week's for tonight's program. So just please take a minute, take the survey. It won't take that long. And it just helps us know that we're putting on programs that are helping you. And then by taking the survey, you're also helping us. So I just like to say thank you again. I hope you all have a great night. Enjoy Monday. Have a great week. That's all I have to say. Thank you.